Hey everybody, it's Kate, the West Coast Paper Crafter. Happy Canada Day for all my Canadian crafty friends. It is July 1st, 7 p.m. Pacific Daylight Savings Time, where I live in East Souk. So tonight, this is going to be a super quick tutorial. I'm going to show you how to put together a book fold card. If you haven't done one before, it is pretty simple. So I'm going to flip the camera around and we will get started. I'm just going to adjust my camera so we can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to push my glass mat up just a little bit. There, that's better. So tonight I'm going to be using the Happiest Days stamp set. This is super adorable. I just got it in my most recent order, and I haven't made very much with it yet. So that's what I'm going to be using tonight. I was planning to do a Canada Day project with a bubble technique, and if you don't know what a bubble technique is, it is literally blowing bubbles with a little bit of re-inker in your water and soap solution, and you can get a pretty cool background. But I learned that I'm not that good at it. So I was attempting to do something red and white for Canada Day with the bubble technique, and it was a fail. So I'm not loving it. I did a couple tries using, this was thick, basic white. I used the watercolor paper and then just regular cardstock. And it's not for me, but I don't know. I might try it again, but my lesson this weekend with the bubble technique was it's not my strong suit. So if you have done the bubble technique and you've made some beautiful backgrounds, I would really love to see what you've come up with, because it's currently my weak spot. All right, let's get started. So it's going to be speedy tonight. I have a few things ready to go because I have got company that I wasn't expecting. So everybody is outside visiting and I am here crafting. So I got a few things ready to go just to make this a little bit quicker. So we'll start out with our pieces. So this is peach pie cardstock. I've cut it to 4 1/4 by 11, and then I've scored it on the long side at 5 1/2 and 6 3/4. And the 6 3/4, that fold is going to make our book fold. So you can just go ahead and fold that over and your card's going to look something like this. All right, so that's the card base. I've got a panel of pumpkin pie. This is 1 inch by 4 inches. And then I've cut a piece of designer series paper. This is from, I believe it's the Unbounded Love designer series paper. And this is just a smidge smaller than this layer, right? So this one is 7/8 by 3 7/8. And this layer is 1 by 4. So I'm just gonna go ahead and glue those two layers together. And then once I've done that, I'm going to add these layers, or this layer, onto the left edge of my card front, in between the fold of the card and that score line. Like so. Now I've got some peach pie ribbon and my tear and tape, and I am going to add a strip of ribbon to that panel, and I like to just use a little bit of tear and tape to hold that ribbon down. So that's what I'm doing right now, is I'm just going to stick a little bit of tear and tape to the inside. Now this is in between the fold and the 6 3/4 score line. All right, I'll grab my ribbon and I'm just going to cut a piece that's going to fit. take your pick tool came apart. There we go. Okay. So now I am going to take one edge of my ribbon. I'm going to press it into that tear and tape. And folding over, and I'm just going to catch that tear and tape on the other side. So if it doesn't look straight, all you need to do is just pull that ribbon up and readjust. I think I need to move it just a little bit. Let me see. Yep, perfect. Now to create the book fold, all I'm going to do is add some adhesive right in that little panel that's in between the fold and the score line. Sorry if you guys can hear that. My dog is barking at something. I don't know what, but he is outside with everybody, so I'm sure everything is fine. All right, so I've just added some glue. And I think maybe the hardest part about this particular type of fold, especially when you're using ribbon like I'm using, is just to get that book fold for the glue to set and to keep it held together. So I take a little extra time just pushing that down and giving my multi-purpose glue a second to actually really stick to the other side of that cardstock. So I forgot to mention that I was careful with my gluing because I didn't want anything to leach out of the fold. So, all right, I'm sorry if you can hear the dog. He is loud. He's loud. All right, so that's pretty good. I think I've got it where I want it. Now I've got a piece of pumpkin pie that I'm going to glue to the front of the card base, and this is 4 by 4. All right, scribbling my glue on. I'm just gonna toss it down. And I'm lining up the edges of my pumpkin pie with the pumpkin pie edges on this panel. All right, so I got that. And then I've got 2 pieces of basic white. One is 4 by 4, that's for the inside. And then this piece is just a little bit smaller. It's 3 7/8 by 3 7/8. And I will glue that onto my pumpkin pie. But first, I'm going to deal with the inside piece. So I'm just going to add some stamping to the inside layer, and I'm going to use this stamp, which I think of this as fairy dust, but there's no fairies in the stamp set. There's a dragonfly, but whenever I see a stamp like this, it really reminds me of fairy dust, and I just love these kind of stamps. So I'm using Daffodil Delight, and I'm just going to add a little bit of fairy dust in the corner. And then I'm just going to glue that to the inside of the card. So because we had some company show up just after lunch today that I wasn't expecting, but I'm very glad they're here, I went ahead and I've already pre-stamped and decorated a 3 by 7/8 and 3 by 7/8 panel to add to this card front. All right, so my 3 by 7/8, 3 by 7/8, I turned into this. So this, I've just used that same stamp that I did on the inside in Daffodil Delight. I added strips of pumpkin pie, crushed curry, and peach pie. And these strips, they're just 1/2 inch wide. And I think they were about 5 inches long, and then I just glued them to the middle of the panel and I snipped off the edges. I stamped the dragonflies. These are a little bit tricky because it's 2-step stamping, and I had a few fails trying to color in the the dragonfly wings. So that was a little bit tricky, but if you get your head right over it, it's a lot easier. So I did the dragonflies in crushed curry, peach pie, and pumpkin pie. So I've just popped them up with mini dimensionals because what I wanted to do was curl in their wings a little bit. So they add a little more dimension to the front of my card. Like so. I don't know if you can see that, but they're not just popped up. Their wings are a little bit higher than their bodies, and I like the look of that. When I give this card to somebody, the wings are likely going to get smushed down in the envelope. So I might just leave this on someone's desk at work next week, just as a little surprise. So the sentiment I stamped in pumpkin pie, and we're just going to add that to the card front. And then we're just going to bling it up with some gems, and I think I'll add some linen thread to the ribbon as well. All right, so I am loving the peach pie color, and I really like to pair it with other bright colors. It feels really summery to me. I just love it. All right, so this is our card before we add some bling. I've got the in color shimmer gems, and I think I'm just gonna throw on some of the peach pie. I've got a little imperfection right in front of this dragonfly. So shimmer gem to the rescue. I'm gonna cover that up. And then I'm just gonna add one more. I like to add my gems in odd numbers. That's just me, but you guys do you. Oh, thanks, Lori. That's really kind of you to say. Some days are better than others when it comes to being creative. Today's a good day, but yesterday, trying to come up with a Canada Day project, that wasn't one of my best creative days. Oh well, that's fine. Okay, so I am just cutting a piece of linen thread, and I'm going to thread it underneath my peach pie ribbon, and I'm going to tie it in a little bow. If I can get my fingers to work. There we go. All right, I'm just cinching that up really tight. I'm going to tie this in a little bow, and then this card is done. And this might be the fastest Monday night tutorial I've ever done. Oh, I gotta finagle my little bow because the loops are too big, and I don't like my loops to be too big. So I'm just gonna finagle that. I spoke too soon, right? Now I've got to adjust my my bow, and maybe it's not going to be the fastest tutorial yet. All right, so you can muss around with your ribbon and the ends to get it where you want it. It just sometimes takes a little back and forth, moving things around to get your ties the direction that you want to. And I like them to point down, so often I will put my thumb on the knot as I pull and adjust on my bottom ties. And I find that helps me to maneuver that thread just the way I want it to go. So I think this is all right. I want them fairly long, so I'm just gonna snip them there. And that is our book fold card. I hope you guys like it. It's pretty simple fun fold. I do them once in a while. Yeah, I think it's really cute, and I love the Happiest Days stamp set. I think it's really adorable. I'm going to use most of it, but there's some things I'm not exactly sure what this is, this little straight line with the dots in it. So if anybody knows what that is for, let me know, because I'm not quite sure if I'm supposed to add that to my dragonfly or what it is. But I love it. It's happy. The script I really like. And I also really like the sentiment that says, "You make me feel like glitter in the sun." I don't exactly know what that feels like, but it must be something really amazing, right? So I'm not sure if I'll make a card like this, but I love the idea. It's got to be a really good feeling. So that is it for tonight. Before I sign off, just a few things I wanted to tell everybody about. My next free online class is the end of July. It's the last Sunday, 10 a.m. my time, which is Pacific Daylight Savings. And I will be using the Happiest Day stamp set. So stay tuned for that. There is a Facebook event on my page. It's in the featured section, so it's super easy to find if you want to just join up. Everybody can come. It doesn't cost you a thing. I will post a supply list and measurements in advance of the class, so everybody has time to cut their pieces if you want to craft along. I haven't designed the projects yet, but once I do, then I will post the measurements and the supply list. So that's coming up at the end of the month. Like I said, it is free, but if you are one of my customers and you place an order in my store, $50 order, I'm going to send you all those card kits so you can craft along and not do any of the prep work. It's just a little thank you from me to you when you trust me to be your Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. A couple other classes in July. I will be doing a sketched butterfly class. I didn't grab the stamp set. Shoot, I should have done that. But in my failed project, these are some of the butterfly stamps. They're really pretty. Don't let this failed project fool you. Really pretty stamp set. So that is my card class at home for July. If you live in Canada, for the next 2 weeks, you can register for that class. It comes with all the kits as well as some goodies from Stampin' Up! And I will mail you out the goodies and the class kits in the middle of the month. So if you're interested in that, let me know. I will drop a link for that class in the comments. And then if you're interested in that class but you don't live in Canada or you don't want to spend money to have card kits mailed to you, then after the middle of the month, I'm going to convert that class to just a video and PDF tutorial. That is super cheap. It's 15 bucks. Anybody in the world can sign up for that. And I send you the videos and a printable PDF to make the projects with all the measurements and everything you need to create the cards I've done. So those are the 2 classes for July, and I've also got a Seaside Wishes tutorial only. Anyway, yeah, that's a lot. I feel like I've just talked a lot. So I'll throw those somewhere in my page sometime this week about all the things coming up in July, because I feel like it's busy. All right, that's it. I'm going to flip my camera around and say goodnight to everybody. Thanks for tuning in live. If you are catching me on a replay, say hello, tell me where you're from. Hey Jan, I see you. And if you make this book fold, throw a picture of it in the comments. I really love to see what you make. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope everybody has a lovely Canada Day, and I will see you all next Monday.